Welcome, welcome, all you beautiful ladies. Look at all those beautiful faces. This is JoJo Bennington, and it is Thursday. We are here for our Empowering Healthy Women 30-minute check-in, and we are already starting a minute late, so we will go to 6:01 so we can make sure we get a full 30 minutes in. And so the reason that we do this every single week is we have created my sister in life and business and in empowering women, Miss Lidy Flom, and I realized that there was a lack in the space around us in having empowering conversations with women about things that were important to us. And so we decided to start these little 30-minute check-ins every single week to introduce you to the amazing people in our circle who we have been so blessed to be able to have in our space, but also to share our knowledge and their knowledge with you every single week. And we will have a different topic going on every single week. Who knows who'll be here? Who knows what we'll be talking about? But last week we were so excited because Miss Lidy Flom, our resident nutritional consultant, was sharing with us about gut health and candida and all kinds of things that have to do with those interesting little creatures that live inside our body and how it affects us in such a negative way or a positive way. And from that conversation, so if you want to see the original, please make sure that you're in the Facebook group so you can actually see the original video from last week. But that sparked so many questions, and we had so much feedback from that we felt like 30 minutes was obviously not enough for this topic. And so we're continuing this week because we had so many outlying questions. And so without further ado, I'm just going to let Lidy jump right in, and we're going to, I know she has a ton of stuff for you guys tonight to be able to put us in a correct direction. And so you guys know, if anybody is interested in working on the candida part of their body, yeast and the bacteria and stuff, we've started to post up ideas in the Facebook group of what you can do to start to change that nutritionally. So know that that's already there if anybody wants to start. And Lidy's going to give us all kinds of info. Make sure you have pen and paper. And Miss Lidy, so happy to have you here, Miss Beauty. I'm just going to let you take over.
Well, it's great to be here with all of you again. And I feel like really truly sisterhood when we get to talk about, the stuff on this level and, realizing that it's in every day, it's in everybody's life. And so none of us actually live here without challenge. And with that, I know that we started last week. We talked a little bit about candida. The yeast is the beast. We know that we have all of this dynamics going on, in our life and surrounding us all the time. So tonight, we're going to take it a little bit deeper. We're going to actually talk about gut health. We're going to talk about the gut flora and what happens in our body. So I want to talk a little bit about, ultimately, the things that we can do to avoid, to give our body the strength to be able to have, greater immune systems. That means that we have to look at acid and alkaline. That means that we have to look at what kind of foods we're putting into the system. And so we're going to look at it from a food perspective, but we're going to lay it out first of all, but having you understand some basics about the body. So first of all, let's look at what your body's made up of. Okay, so we know that our body's made up of cells, but the important thing for us to understand is that 90% of our cells in our body are comprised of microbial organisms. And a microbial organism is like microbes, or a general term for that would be called bacteria. And there are things like bacteria or archaea or proteases and other molecular organisms. And they're present throughout the entire body. And as a result of that, what we are beginning to understand that when things are out of balance, see, our body can function, it just wants to keep, homeostasis. Homeostasis is like balance. But there's two types of homeostasis. It's bioelectrical and biochemical balance. And so when we have those two in place, then we have balance, which is homeostasis. So this is where we want to be. But not here, not here. We don't want to be in a roller coaster. If we have a roller coaster going on the inside, we show up with a roller coaster on the outside. Not stable mentally, emotional, hormonally, we can call it. There's something not right, suppression, depression, anxiety. We can go all over the board with this. So what's gone on over the years as science unveils the truth about like how our bodies really function is that there is this balance which is critical to maintaining our gut flora. And the gut flora can start out with our digestion. And so our digestive ability to break down fats, to break down proteins, to break down carbohydrates, everything needs what is called a gallbladder. We need to have bile that goes into the system that actually is now going to be giving your body the ability to break things down better. So all the organs and, from assimilation to elimination, all has to be working like point on. So as a result of that, the integrity of our body could be your skin, your brain, and your immune system start to show up with some challenge. And so as it is that we take a look at what's really going on today in terms of what celebrity doctors are confirming, that there are major connections with our microbiome, which has a lot to do with the probiotics and the overall health in the body. So now we have what is called this human microbiome conversation. So the microbiome is composed of 100 trillion good and bad bacteria. And it is a collection of all these microbes. So we're going to kind of tie this together in terms of that microbes again, which means that, you guessed it, 90% of your body is actually microbiome. So we said in the beginning that 90% of your cells in your body are comprised of this microbial organism, which ultimately means in our bodies is the human microbiome. And so here we are, we're actually looking at this like gut flora. Like, have you ever known anybody that says, I just have tried everything to lose weight, I just am stuck? So that stuckness starts with that when you eat food, the fungus, bacteria, parasites, all of them need food too. If your body's not breaking down the food properly, they eat first, after all, and you're still left like deficient, insufficient, and back to the balance of homeostasis. We're out of balance. So we don't have bioelectrical or biochemical balancing, and subsequently they get to take, let's call it, take up the space, or they get to, be fed first. So the question is like, what can we really do? So I thought tonight that what we would do is we would take a look at just going through 10 things that actually are hurting our gut bacteria or our gut flora. So I'm going to list them off by way of what they are and how we can go through what is called the process of understanding the simplicity. So we know, just like in Candida, it is sweets. So sweets is an issue. And looking at that from processed sugar, we know that they actually feed the unhealthy bacteria, or parasites can live in the environment where there are unprocessed carbohydrates. So we can call it simple or complex carbohydrates, and that is their food source. So as I'm sharing these things, you're going to hear it like that's their food source. So beer and wine, alcohol actually, consumption can alter the microbial balance. And then again, we go look at poor sleep. Poor sleep can lead to subtle changes in the microbial makeup. And poor sleep is your time for your body to scrub the house. It's your time to push the garbage out. Well, if it's not strong enough and you are not resting, your body is busy, like your mind, and you're just not in that state of recovery. So the next day you get up and you're like, I need some energy. So we need some energy. And what you go for is something that's going to feed you quickly. It's like you're going to be driven towards something that is going to be caffeine related, sugar related. I need some fillers in my coffee. I need something. So there's things that we're going to talk about that you can do that be contrary to that we can actually start flushing that out. So then we look at this, not enough fiber. Not enough fiber. Well, we know that fiber helps scrub the house. If it is that you're going to eat something that would be, let's say, an apple, for example, that's got, not high fiber, but it happens when you actually take in fiber, it keeps you in homeostasis. It lets the burning of the food you're eating be more sustainable instead of being on the roller coaster of high and low. So that's what we have, hyperactivity, anxiety, and then we crash. Okay, when we crash, your body says, well, I'm below this line. I need something to bring me back up. And so this is suppression, depression, and your body's looking at how it can move back up. And we know that even things in our environment. So we have our unit, our 3-bedroom complex here, that is totally under reconstruction because it is infested in mold. Found that on Monday and Tuesday, and we've been unveiling this. But all that actually has been impacting our health. And we say, why is it that we can't breathe well here? And we've been talking about already lack of oxygen on the planet, and we're living in an environment that we're taking on something that's like shutting our system down. So we got to get out of the environment sometimes first and realize that that's part of it. So, and then living in the city. I say, why should that be a big deal? I'm just talking a little bit about where we live matters because of the quality of the air. And we know that if we're starting to take a look at that, we can take a look at antibiotics. So then we actually have a suppressed immune system. Then we say, you know what? I know I've been challenged with this. It seems like every year it gets a little worse and gets a little worse, and you get prognostic, diagnostic, and then they say, well, let's just actually give you some antibiotics. You've got some kind of infection, okay? Well, never take an antibiotic without having blood work first. And here's the reason why. Because antibiotics know how to go after bacteria. And so what did I say earlier? That we have microbiomes are actually consisting of 100 trillion good and bad bacteria, or you can call it good and bad, bacteria just by itself. I mean, microbiomes, right? So it's just good or bad bacteria. And that's like your army. The good guys are your army. The bad guys are your enemy. And so you want more good bacteria than bad bacteria. The key word is that bacteria here. So I'm talking about antibiotics. It goes in and knows how to kill bacteria, but it doesn't know the difference between good and doesn't know the difference between bad. It goes and kills bacteria. And if you have low good bacteria and high bad bacteria, it goes and kills both of them, you're left with no army. You're left with nothing to fight your battles with. So now you actually are more suppressed and depressed in your whole system, and you have to go fight that battle. So
Lidy, let me ask you before you go to the next one. What would the blood work be looking for? So what kind of blood test would we be asking for?
You just have to ask them to do blood work. Do a blood draw, and they will tell you from the blood draw if it is bacterial, viral, fungal. They'll tell you. And if it does not come back as a bacteria infection, I say, number one, don't ever use an antibiotic. But if you now know that if they never, and they normally don't ever take blood work, so they're giving you it regardless of the test. They don't even know. They don't know if it's bacterial or fungal or bacteria. They have no idea. But I'm going to tell you something. We're going to share a recipe. There are things that we can do that actually kill invader bacteria. I'm going to show you like a little word picture. If this is the invader coming into your body, the body sends a signal out and says, hey, we have, a bad guy here. And so it takes on and it engulfs it like it is going to destroy it. But it just holds it in place. So this is the process. And says, all right, this guy sends a message out and says, fighter T cells, B cells, come on in, blow this thing apart from the backside. I'm holding it in place. And you don't have enough fighter T cells and B cells to go fight that battle. So this guy keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And all of a sudden it can't hang on to it. And all of a sudden it's a full-blown war. This is when you have the cold. This is when you have the flu. This is when you have something. And you say, just couldn't, I couldn't fight that off. Couldn't fight that off. And you're right, you couldn't fight this off. Okay? So this is basically what's happening. So your body's always sending messages, and as a result of that, here we are. So looking at the water containing chlorine. And chlorine is a big issue. You might say, well, I'm not drinking chlorinated water anymore. I know that. But when I take a shower and, I'm taking a bath or, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm using chlorinated water. So here it is. We are taking chlorination. And that's another major issue in your body. We are suppressing an immune system again. Foods with artificial coloring. Go through your house. If you got kids, take them to the cupboards and say, today we're going to go look for artificial colors. Red, yellow. There's lots of them to be found. And you're going to throw them in a box. And you're going to have to throw them away. Because you know what? That's killing you. And then we say antibacterial soaps. Let's look at this for just a moment. Do you have hand sanitizers in your house? You have hand sanitizers as you go to church. You have hand sanitizers when you go to the grocery store. You have hand sanitizers when you go to school. They're everywhere. But there's a new thing. If you can go on YouTube and you just go look up hand sanitizers, I've gotten a huge education just within the last year here, understanding the difference between hand purifiers and hand sanitizers. A hand sanitizer is alcohol-based. There's this new thing going around in high schools. They call it the no ID high. They're literally drinking the hand sanitizers. And these kids are being hospitalized, some of them, and it's flammable. So it's a lethal, it's a neural toxicity. So we're looking at serious things here. So, they have like recommendations that, they have them as you walk into a classroom, you have to do this hand sanitizer thing. And then you work with paper. People that are working in grocery stores, they have to do that, wash their hands, whatever, hand sanitizers for various things. And they're throughout the aisles and so on. They're just everywhere. You know that when you pick up the receipt paper, that literally your pores are open. You use hand sanitizer when alcohol-based, they're opening up your pores. You become susceptible to everything. Oh, and by the way, we do have flu shots. We have a suppression of an immune system. This is so important. I mean, you look at people that are aging and you say, gosh, I hope I never look like that. Or I hope I never have to be challenged with that. We're exposed every day. That's the challenge. So, so as we look at that and we say pain relievers, lots of pain relievers, that's all suppressing again the whole immune system. And as we go forth, we say, okay, let's go look at what can we do? Well, we have to look at good flora in your upper GI tract, your small intestine, and lower GI tract, which is your large intestine. And so when you take on foods that are alkalizing, that can help, with keeping the proper flora there. But as you have to build, when you actually look at all of this, you say, we're going to have to give our body an army. We have to build an army. You're building an immune system. Really, you're building an army. So a prebiotic is a biotic that actually goes into the upper GI tract and starts working on that level. A probiotic goes into the lower GI tract. And so it kind of prepares that whole entire digestive system and put it into the, a good, stronger condition so that it can actually do the work and break down the food properly and to be able to help you assimilate and help you eliminate. So when you're looking for a probiotic, let's just talk about the probiotic. since it is that your microbiome is 100 trillion, 100 trillion bacterial, good or bad bacteria, that we know that what we have to do is build this stronger or good bacteria back, that we are looking for strains that are a minimum of 40 billion CFUs. So that's a good level to start looking for. You want to actually have, it's a live culture, and live cultures are something that typically have to be refrigerated. Today, they have cultures that don't necessarily have to be refrigerated. You want to have, if it's encapsulated, you want to use that as a vegan capsule, not something that's, you know, caramelated or it's got dairy in it. You want them gluten-free. So look for vegan capsules. Synthetic additives. Sometimes there's synthetic additives in them, and that's for fillers, you know, to let it go a little bit further. I'm going to just say this. You're better with a smaller capsule that is just pure, you know, like a probiotic, and 40, and you can find some that are 50 CFUs. So look for that. And there are multiple strains. You want multiple strains. Some are like, I think the highest level I've ever seen in terms of a probiotic is 11 strains, but you're looking for Acidophilus, Bifidus, what am I missing? Lactobacillus. Okay, those are strains. And so you're looking for a variety of strains in your probiotic. Now, if you have a child and the child has some thrush going on, you can even use this for a paste and make it, you know, put it on their little buttocks for a little, you know, paste, like instead of a powder. You put that yeast is the beast, remember, and it's coming from somewhere that comes even possibly from a nursing situation. If you've had yeast issues prior to their birth, it's highly probable that they have yeast issues as well. So now what happens is that you're looking at this and saying, well, what can I do? Well, you can open up the capsule, put like a drop of water with it, and then with our babies, we actually just, I put a drop of water so I can get it on my finger, and then I would put it inside their mouth, put it all along inside their gum line. And that will just sit there, or they'll move it around with their tongue, and it'll go through their system, and you're building their immune system. I mean, this is so easy to be able to do this. It's not like you have to think that there's a certain age that you can give it to them. I took a look at some. I think that there were some that had lower doses way back when, but today I would just give them just something that would be a smaller amount. So looking at multiple strains, looking at Lactobacillus, Bifidus, Acidophilus, and so on. 40 minimum CFUs, 50 or higher is better. You don't have to have it refrigerated today. And there are foods, there are proteins, there are things that we can take in that already have probiotics in them, and prebiotics and probiotics. So you're looking for, if you're going to eat some food and you're going to look for good quality supplements, that you'll find that they're even in some supplements. So there's ways to be able to do that. You can add fiber to your diet. You can even make various different protein, for example. Do you know that bodies that actually are high in carbohydrates and low in protein are bodies that they have discovered that manifest parasites? Honestly, you know, it's kind of shocking, some of this information. And so what I thought tonight I would do is maybe give you some ideas as well as what might be signs. And there are babies that are constipated. I remember going to a home, the baby was about 18 months old, and the mother said this baby cries all the time, this baby's constipated, and this baby was eating. She took the baby out of the high chair, and the baby was on the floor, and she said, this baby's crying right now because there's something going on. And she said, I have to, so I hope this doesn't gross you out, but I'm going to take a tissue and I'm going to help this baby, you know, have this BM be kind of like moved out of the body. So this is really happening in today's world. And I said, well, we're going to have to take a look at what this child is eating. This child only wanted to eat carbohydrates, pastas and things like that, you know, mac and cheese, sandwiches and breads. And I'm like, you're feeding the yeast beast in this little body. So there's ways to be able to look at that. So, but constipation invites parasites. Lack of gallbladder output invites them. So you can make your own salad dressings, for example, that are made from apple cider vinegar. That's very helpful because they don't like that environment. Pumpkin seeds are known to keep worms away. The seeds are a good supply of the natural L-tryptophan, and also use garlic as a worm destroyer. So you can, there's an anti-infection drink that I have that's, you know, white onions actually are stronger in an anti-inflammatory, anti-infection than a yellow or red onion. So use white onions, that it can be helpful. Diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is a clay, and like 1 rounded teaspoon every day for rebuilding the environment and worm destroying. So I didn't really show you any pictures tonight about how those worms look, but they are nasty. So, and dietary suggestions, high in carbohydrates, like I just mentioned, and low in proteins are found to make parasitic infections worsen. So, low carbs and high protein, again, and we know that protein builds muscle and muscle burns fat. So there's always a victory when it comes to protein. When the body is alkaline, in an alkaline condition, parasitical infection can be in a state of like uncomfortable. It's best to keep the diet slightly acidic sometimes, but when it is you're trying to combat some of this, and it depends upon like what kind of, what can I say? To take on lemon water, lemon is acidic going in, but it alkalizes. So for example, when they say like, if you're trying to clean your body and trying to push that out of the way, lemon water is fabulous because it goes in as acidic, and there can have the little acidic, but it then converts to alkalinity. So that's a great beverage to have. And apple cider vinegar kind of acts the same way. Cranberry juice acts the same way. And so foods to add, even figs, tiny seeds tear the skin of the worm of a fig. I think I already mentioned everything. Pomegranates are great to add to the diet. Foods to avoid are uncooked, any uncooked meat, sugars and carbohydrates. I already said that. Mountain water, because there's a lot, they can have a lot of protozoa in water. Water chestnuts and watercress. Fruits and vegetables are when they're unwashed, and that's questionable. So, you know, like where are they carried? So they can be in food, they can be everywhere, and we can be feeding them. So I guess I really like to say, when you're looking at making good dietary decisions, looking for something that's going to literally give you max out benefits. I think we're out of time.
Wow, that was a ton of information. I was taking notes as we were going down, so everyone was able to hopefully be able to follow along and take notes also. And we will make sure that this recording is up. And obviously, this is not to conversation information. I think that we'll have to continue on with this. Hopefully that was some really great information. If any of you have any questions, please post them in the Facebook page, and we'll be able to answer them as we go throughout the week. If there's any questions that have come up that will now spur us on to the next call, so we know where we need to fill in the gaps. But this was a great amount of information of things that we can do every single day to help build our armies and reduce those bad guys that are in there. So Lidy, wow, that was incredible. Thank you so much. And
Thank you. Welcome.
Is there anything you want to add in real quick, or are you good? Good?
I'm good. I'm going to say this. I think that there's a lot of questions today about like water, what's in our water, things like that. I really like to, I know that a lot of young moms are looking for solutions and not knowing. And Dr. Dolores Day, I think, actually wrote a book that's all about children's environments and, what happens when they're in daycares and so on. So anyway, I
Awesome.
say this whole subject ties all of the family well-being together. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we'll figure out where we're going to go next week based on the questions and the things that pop up during the week. And yes, a topic about water would be totally great. So thank you, everybody. Blow Lidy a big, huge kiss, because that was incredible information, and send her tons of love. And thank you all for being here. So good to see you all. And I cherish these little 30-minute times we have every week. And thank you so much for being here. And we will see you all next week.